Your driver's license can be suspended in 2026 even if you've never caused an accident, never received a ticket, and never broken a traffic law in your entire life. And the most dangerous part is that you may not realize it's happened until it's already too late, because there is no flashing warning, no police officer knocking on your door, no phone call, and no second chance. Just one quiet administrative mistake, one missed letter, one automated system flag, and suddenly you are driving illegally without even knowing it. And this is not a prediction or a future concern. It is already happening across the country right now. And in 2026, the system becomes even stricter, faster, and far less forgiving than most drivers realize. What many Americans still don't understand is that license suspensions are no longer tied only to dangerous driving behavior. They are now tied to paperwork compliance, automated databases, insurance verification systems, medical reporting requirements, renewal deadlines, and algorithmic enforcement tools that do not care how long you've been driving or how clean your record has been for decades. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly what is triggering these suspensions, which single rule is catching more drivers off guard than any other right now, and what specific steps you must take to protect your license and your independence before 2026 arrives. But to understand why this is happening, you need to understand what changed behind the scenes, because the real reason licenses are being suspended has almost nothing to do with reckless driving anymore. Right now, three powerful forces are colliding across the United States, and together they have permanently changed how DMVs operate. The first force is demographic. Tens of millions of Americans are entering retirement age. Older drivers are now the fastest growing group on the road, and by the end of this decade, every baby boomer will be over the age of 65, which has placed enormous pressure on states to monitor driving risk more aggressively than ever before. The second force is automation, and this is where everything fundamentally shifts. Because DMV systems are no longer slow, manual, or reviewed by human judgment. Insurance databases, traffic enforcement systems, medical reporting platforms, and license records are now linked together in real time, which means same-day enforcement with no human discretion involved, no context, no intent, and no opportunity for explanation. The system does not pause to consider your history, it does not weigh circumstances, and it does not ask follow-up questions. It simply detects a missed requirement and applies the penalty automatically. The third force is financial pressure. Insurance payouts from crashes are skyrocketing, state budgets are strained, and governments are responding by tightening oversight, increasing compliance checks, and relying on automated penalties instead of education, warnings, or grace periods. When you combine these three forces, something critical disappears from the system: forgiveness. 20 years ago, a mistake usually triggered a reminder letter, then another notice, sometimes even a courtesy call. But today you get one notification, and if you miss it or misunderstand it, the system moves forward without you. No appeal window, no extra reminder, no conversation, just enforcement. That is why so many responsible drivers are being blindsided right now, not because they are unsafe, but because they didn't realize the rules had changed. Hi, I'm Mark, and here at Immigration Newsroom, I break down DMV changes, driving laws, license rules, and government policy updates using verified information from state transportation departments and legislative records without hype and without guesswork. And today I'm walking you through 5 changes rolling out in 2026 that are quietly suspending licenses across the country. I'm not starting with age-based rules, and I'm not starting with the most obvious violations either. I'm starting with the rule that is affecting more drivers right now than any other, including people who have done everything right for decades, and that is continuous electronic insurance verification. Many states now monitor your insurance status in real time, meaning your insurance company and the DMV are directly connected, and if your coverage lapses, even briefly, the system does not wait, it does not issue a warning first, and it does not ask questions. It automatically flags your vehicle and begins enforcement immediately. Most drivers assume this doesn't apply to them because they've had the same insurer for years, but that assumption is exactly why so many people are getting suspended, because what actually causes these lapses is far more mundane and far more dangerous. An expired credit card, a failed automatic payment, a confirmation email sent to an address you no longer check, or a brief overlap mistake when switching providers. 2 days later, the DMV system registers an insurance lapse, your registration is suspended automatically, a notice is mailed, and by the time it reaches you, the suspension is already active, meaning you are legally prohibited from driving even though nothing about your behavior changed. If you are pulled over during that window, your vehicle can be impounded on the spot, leading to towing fees, storage fees, reinstatement fees, and now a mark on your driving record, which insurance companies see and use to raise your premiums, sometimes for years. The second major change surprises people even more because it doesn't start with law enforcement or the DMV. It starts in a doctor's office. In many states, physicians are allowed or required by law to report medical conditions that could affect driving ability, including vision impairment, seizure disorders, loss of consciousness, cognitive decline, or poorly controlled diabetes. And once that report is submitted, the DMV does not debate it. The process begins automatically. Drivers often receive a letter requesting medical documentation or testing, and because they feel fine and have been driving safely for years, they delay responding. But if the deadline passes, the system assumes non-compliance and suspends the license administratively, often without the driver realizing it until they are stopped for a minor issue and suddenly face criminal penalties for driving on a suspended license. The third change targets older drivers directly through tightened age-based renewal rules, where online and mail renewals are restricted, in-person visits and vision tests become mandatory, and thresholds vary by state, catching people off guard when their routine renewal is suddenly rejected, leading to temporary extensions, restrictions, or additional evaluations that delay renewal and increase risk. The fourth change is the expansion of distracted driving enforcement, which now includes holding your phone at red lights, adjusting navigation apps while stopped, or interacting with any application while the engine is running, with penalties escalating quickly from fines to points, insurance notifications, and eventual license suspension. The fifth and final change explains why the consequences now feel so severe. Once you are flagged in the system, you stay flagged, and insurance lapses, medical reviews, and citations become part of a permanent digital record that influences insurance pricing, renewal scrutiny, and enforcement decisions for years. Automation has made enforcement efficient but unforgiving, and small administrative mistakes now carry long-term financial and legal consequences. The good news is that preparation protects you. Checking your license status, confirming insurance payments, responding immediately to DMV notices, understanding your state's rules, updating contact information, and keeping documentation gives you control in a system that does not pause. Driving is more than transportation. It is independence. And staying informed is how you protect that freedom as these rules continue to change.